It's now been a month since officials at Western Illinois University announced that state-appropriated funding to WIUM, known as Tri-States Public Radio, would be completely cut effective March 1st, 2019.
I'm very concerned. I know that Western Illinois University is in a difficult financial position, and I also know that this station has been around here for decades, and that there are a lot of people who rely upon the service that we provide.
The radio station, along with AIS, the Audio Information Services for the Visually Impaired, which is also part of WIUM, sits near the northeast entrance of WIU off of University Drive and Lafayette Street. The station is facing more than $453,000 in cuts. This money pays for 9 of 12 employees. Now the station will have to look other places for this money.
There is a certain amount of uncertainty in the future, and we need to figure out how we can continue to exist without half of our operating budget, and how much of that can we replace from other funding sources.
The decision comes after President Jack Thomas and WIU administration began looking at more ways to save university money during difficult financial times for public universities in Illinois.
Continue to provide the quality of education that we're known to provide. Something has to give.
I'm sure as the GM you weren't expecting this. Did you see this coming?
Everybody on campus should be aware that there could be some kind of cuts. The fact that they were a 100% cut with 6 months notice, that was surprising.
The fallout from this decision has the community and supporters of the station filling up town halls, speaking out at university meetings, and spreading information online.
It's the only journalism in McDonough County and really in the tri-state area that's kind of left.
It's a lifeline for me. It would be very difficult for me to live in a small town that did not have a public radio station.
To conserve money, changes to the radio programming are already taking place. And because of these cuts, they now must look for more donations, grants, and other means to keep them on the air.
Will Tri-States Public Radio be here a year from now?
Yes, we are definitely going to be here a year from now. In what form, I don't know. What it's going to sound like and what it's going to look like, I honestly can't say.
She's not getting the job done, is the bottom line.
I believe that I've done a good job, particularly for our constituents.
Representative Republican Noreen Hammond hoping for a second term, but up against another face-off like in 2016 with Democrat challenger John Curtis. Why should the voters of the 93rd District re-elect you?
Sure. I think first and foremost my record of voting and voting for issues that people in this district care deeply about.
What you need to do is look at who the best person is, or maybe who the person is that's going to work the hardest and who has some new ideas. And I think it's been clear in this campaign who's the harder worker.
One of the top issues in this race is funding Western Illinois University and increasing enrollment at Western. Do you feel the state provides enough support for WIU?
We need to start this trend back to the value of higher education, community colleges for Illinois, and the focus has to be on how we get the dollars to the students.
How will you keep WIU on its feet?
Well, we need to make sure that Illinois state schools aren't priced out of the market.
Hammond does not support the progressive state income tax, while Curtis says it needs to be fixed.
I have seen states that have the progressive income tax in place, and it hasn't been as successful as they had hoped it would be.
Illinois is essentially a tax haven for the very rich and a tax burden on the poorest and middle class.
Hammond and Curtis say infrastructure is a priority, but they have to have the money.
Motor fuel tax funds cannot be spent in any other area.
One of the things I'd be doing is reaching out to our U.S. senators and saying, hey, can we get some federal funding for this? How about some grants?
Anything that you feel really sticks out between what he's wanting to fight for?
If I'm being honest, I really haven't heard anything that's got any meat to it.
I spoke to Noreen Hammond yesterday, and she said, you say you're going to bring more jobs, but she doesn't still know how you're going to do it. So I give you this time. How will you bring more jobs to the 93rd District?
So one of the things that's happening right now is that a lot of the local factories are expanding. And when I talk to, say, the CEO of the Vaughn Hammer Factory, or anyway, the leadership in Bushnell of the Vaughn Hammer Factory, they're looking to expand their workforce by 60 people or more.
The Illinois EPA has issued Macomb a water violation after a recent test showed high amounts of pH, which is hydrogen, and chlorine in the city's water. Public Works Director Scott Coker says this is a small issue.
It's just not a normal level of chlorine or pH that you would see in normal environments.
Coker says it's the treatment process the city uses that is causing the problems.
We use lime in a treatment process to filter the water, which puts a high pH in the water that comes out, the wastewater from the plant. And then another treatment process, you use chlorine to disinfect some filters.
Roger Villadero teaches environmental studies and science at WIU. He says residents may taste chlorine in their tap water, but that's for safety reasons.
The chlorine's there for a reason, and that is to protect people who drink our water from bacteria.
Coker says the chemicals build up over time, but residents should not be concerned. So Coker says the main issues are for the high levels of pH and chlorine that end up in the Lemoyne River, which can cause issues for the environment and wildlife. The city plans to use reserve water funds to install a new water and filter system. The EPA has given the city a year to fix the problems, so the city hopes to have this done by May. They originated in the South, and you don't find them in most yards. But when you do, they're hard to miss. Do you know what this is?
No, I haven't a clue, but I have seen it before.
I think it's a type of fruit.
I do not know what this is.
The name of this tree is the Osage orange. A lot of people recognize it for the fruit that it bears.
The Osage orange tree, or in scientific terms, Maclura pomifera.
I don't know, a guava?
They call these horse apples, hedge apples, monkey balls. My kids like to call them monkey brains.
Depending on where you live, they're called something different. In the Midwest, they're commonly called hedge balls. And these big green monkey ball brains, you see, they've all fallen from the tree, but what can they be used for? This may keep away spiders in your basement.
I used to put them in my basement.
Did you try that?
Yeah, if it worked.
Some people think just put a bunch of them around your house or around your basement or garage, and that'll ward off those kind of pests. But there's been no solid evidence, research that has been able to back that up.
Decades ago, the branches on the Osage orange tree were used as fence posts to keep animals from coming in and out of yards.
They used the wood for the fence posts because the wood is extremely rot resistant.
And was this fruit a meal for woolly mammoths?
I believe the range of this tree was far more extended, and so it could have been some kind of food or forage for more primitive species.
Very small, rough bowling ball.
In Macomb, reporting for News 3, I'm Devin Brooks.